Welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to explore a real roadmap to reclaiming your inner voice and honestly rebuilding self trust from the absolute inside out. Let's just dive right in because so many of us have lost our self trust after years of criticism, people pleasing, difficult relationships, or just constantly doubting our own decisions. Over time, we actually start believing everyone else knows what's best for us. Let me ask you a question, and I want you to be really, truly honest with yourself here. Have you ever completely ignored your instincts? You pushed down a gut feeling, talked yourself out of it, or maybe you've spent so much time asking everyone else what they think that you've literally forgotten how to listen to yourself, only to realize later on that they were right all along? Man, we have all experienced that deeply frustrating moment of realization. It taps into the very real pain of losing touch with our own internal compass. If that sounds familiar, let me tell you, you are absolutely not alone. To really picture this, let me share a story from our sources about a woman named Ariana. So picture Ariana. She's standing completely frozen in her kitchen at like 9:40 p.m. on a Tuesday night. She's holding up two incredibly similar shades of off-white paint swatches to the wall, and she just cannot decide. And it's not because picking a paint color is some mathematically difficult task, right? It's because she doesn't trust that whatever she picks will turn out to be the right one. Really, she doesn't even trust her own eyes to tell her which one she actually likes. Now, you might actually think self doubt shows up first in those massive, life altering choices. But actually, big decisions often get made on old, established competence, almost on autopilot. It's actually the small, ambiguous, totally low stakes choices, like picking a paint color or even what to order at a restaurant, that truly reveal how thoroughly our internal sense of trust has been undermined. These tiny moments force us to consult our internal sense of, well, what do I think? And when that sense is broken, we completely freeze. So, how exactly does this happen? Well, often it's the result of toxic environments or gaslighting. The true hidden impact of gaslighting is how it completely breaks your internal feedback loop. Normally, you perceive something, you act on it, and the world confirms your reality. But toxic relationships, they deliberately replace accurate feedback with false feedback. They are literally engineered to make your accurate perception look like a mistake. And over time, this self-doubt spreads like a virus into every single area of your life. If you're nodding along to this right now, consider this perspective for a second. Quieting your instincts was an adaptation to an environment where trusting them was consistently punished. We really need to reframe this loss of self-trust. It is not a personal failure. It is not a character flaw. It was a protective adaptation. It was actually a highly reasonable response to a completely unreasonable, punishing situation. You essentially learn to turn down the volume of your own voice just to survive. So, what actually is self trust? Basically, it's the working confidence that your perceptions and your reactions are reliable evidence about your own life. And here is the really good news: self trust isn't something you're just magically born with, it's something you build, it's a skill. It's built on a restored feedback loop of noticing something and then having that noticing confirmed rather than contradicted. But how do you know if you are hearing your true internal voice, or if it's just plain old anxiety talking? Well, the next time you face a difficult decision, I want you to pause and ask yourself, what do I truly want? Am I making this choice out of fear or out of alignment with my values? If I trusted myself completely, what would I do? You see, legitimate intuition is protective. It's never going to put you down or support destructive attitudes. Irrational fear, though, that's usually tied to low self-esteem or negative beliefs like, I am a burden or I'm unlovable. If the voice in your head is insulting you, that is fear, not your trusted intuition. To start rebuilding this intuition, we can look at the anatomy of trust, specifically the Braving framework. It covers absolute essentials like boundaries, reliability, and integrity. But here is the real kicker, okay? We cannot expect from others what we refuse to give to ourselves. If you are constantly judging yourself or failing to be reliable to yourself, you are actively eroding your own self-trust. Which brings us right to the incredibly crucial concept of self-promises. Think about it. When you break a promise to someone else, they get upset, right? But when you break a promise to yourself, you probably think, what's the harm? No one knows except me. But that is exactly the problem. You know, and breaking that promise sends this devastating internal message that you are simply not important enough to follow through on. Consistently failing to honor your own commitments has a massive, massive cost. It completely ruins your internal credibility. It goes against your core values of honesty. Essentially, you are training your brain to treat yourself as an unreliable narrator in your own life. Every single time you say you'll start taking better care of yourself and then you just don't, you destroy your faith in your ability to do what you say you will. So, how do we fix this whole shebang? Well, we start small and build up. Rebuilding self-trust is definitely not about making these massive, sweeping declarations. No, it's about picking just one single, highly manageable promise at a time. You have to keep the stakes incredibly low so that it feels completely 100% doable. Remember, you are exercising a muscle that has seriously atrophied, so you've got to start with the lightest weights in the gym. And you absolutely must make your action highly specific. Vague promises, they fail every time. You need to break down overwhelming choices into tiny, bite-sized steps. Instead of saying something like, I'm going to get healthy, say, I am going to take a 30-minute walk. And then get even more specific with it. Find your walking shoes, choose the exact days and the exact times, and put it on your calendar. Specificity totally removes the hesitation. Now, once you start keeping these small promises, you need to actually track your progress. Our sources highly recommend building an evidence log. Here's how you do it. Step 1. Notice a physical sensation or a gut read. Step 2. Name it out loud or write it down. Step 3. Just let it stand without immediate second guessing. You are gathering cumulative, undeniable proof that your perception is actually a reliable instrument. Over months, this log becomes the concrete evidence you can point to on the hard days. Because look, trusting yourself doesn't mean you'll always make the perfect decision. It means believing that no matter what happens, you'll learn, adapt, and keep moving forward. So, this newly rebuilt intuition naturally leads us to our next absolutely crucial topic: boundaries. Boundaries solve problems. They are not just random rules to keep people away. A boundary is really just an internal instinct that you have finally believed in enough to speak out loud. When you feel that resentment building up inside, yeah, that is your instinct telling you a boundary is missing. But just like those self-promises we talked about, your boundaries must be specific. Consider the massive difference here. A vague boundary is saying something like, I need more help. Honestly, that just creates confusion and frustration. A specific boundary is, I need you to handle dinner on Tuesdays. Boom. Clarity builds confidence. When you are clear, you don't have to second guess whether you communicated properly. Setting boundaries is truly self-respect in action. Now, when you start setting these, not everyone is gonna love it. Some people will definitely test them, and some people will flat out resist them. But I want to reassure you right now, the right people, the healthy people in your life, they will adjust. You are not on this earth just to make everyone else comfortable. You are here to live well. And as you do this, you'll find that the more you practice listening to your own voice, the quieter everyone else's opinions become. So I want to issue you a challenge to reclaim your energy this week. Step 1. Start with just one no this week. Just one. Step 2. Pay attention and notice what happens in your body when you say it without guilt. Step 3. Notice how much mental and emotional energy comes rushing right back to you. Saying no isn't selfish, guys. It is vital stewardship of your health, your peace, and your future. Every time you set a healthy boundary, you strengthen your confidence from the inside out. Now, if you're sitting there waiting to feel brave before you do this, please remember this massive myth buster. Confidence does not come before action. Confidence grows because of action. True confidence is simply the byproduct of the evidence you gather through taking action, even when your voice shakes. You have to lower the stakes and gather the evidence. You cannot fake this evidence, and you definitely cannot put it on easy mode. You must genuinely challenge yourself. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, every time you make a decision without seeking everyone's approval, you build unbreakable self-efficacy. Self-trust grows every single time you prove to yourself that you'll show up, even when life feels completely uncertain. Which brings us to this incredibly powerful quote from Walt Whitman. What do you suppose will satisfy the soul except to walk free and own no superior? The ultimate goal of this entire journey isn't just to feel a little bit better. It is to walk through your own life without an internal superior, whether that's a gaslighter, an old fear, or a nasty inner critic, constantly editing your perceptions before you are even allowed to feel them. Look, the most important relationship you will ever have in this lifetime is the one you have with yourself. Start rebuilding it today. So I'll leave you with this final thought. What is just one small, highly specific promise you can make to yourself this week and actually keep? Take that first step today and trust yourself again.